Bueno, pues muy buenos días a todos. Es un gusto tenerlos en este espacio. Nuevamente, pues mil gracias para todas las personas que aceptaron la invitación, digamos que en el marco de esta temática de ciberseguridad. Eh, es un placer contar con su asistencia, con su puntualidad y digamos que el propósito de este espacio digamos que construir conocimiento en conjunto con nuestro aliado, que en este caso es la Universidad de Harrisburg. Entonces, pues mil gracias. Digamos que un pequeño preámbulo. Nuevamente, mucho gusto, Jorge Armando García. Hago parte de la Cámara de Comercio, más específicamente del clúster de software y TI, que está liderado pues por Andrés Carbo y Liliana Abril. Entonces, digamos que en nombre del clúster, en nombre de la Cámara, pues digamos que se crean estos espacios para que conjuntamente, por un lado, podamos construir conocimiento y por el otro lado, digamos que podamos aprovechar conocimiento de otros lugares para seguir, digamos que modificando o moldeando todo lo que tiene que ver este ecosistema aquí en nuestro país. Entonces, pues un placer y un gusto tenerlos en este sitio. Comentarles rápidamente que, pues en nombre de la Cámara de Comercio hemos venido desarrollando rápidamente algunos eventos relacionados con temas de construcción de conocimiento, eh, tanto versiones tipo webinar como es este, o versiones tipo conversative como el que desarrollamos en conjunto con Redis y Asís. Entonces, vamos a seguir, digamos que diversificando un poco las temáticas para que dependiendo del interés de las personas, pues se puedan vincular y digamos que por un lado podamos reforzar y por el otro lado, digamos que seguir conociendo esas tendencias que aplican en nuestro sector para que luego en los proyectos y acciones que vamos desarrollando, pues digamos que lo podamos aterrizar de la mejor manera. Comentarles rápidamente que en esta sesión pues contamos con la participación de un experto que es Ron Jones. Es experto en todo lo que tiene que ver con ciberseguridad, es docente de la Universidad de Harrisburg y va a ser la persona que nos va a guiar en este ligero espacio que vamos a tener. Entonces, Ron, también es un gusto tenerte. Igualmente comentarles que este evento, digamos que su idioma base va a ser inglés. Sin embargo, vamos a tener una herramienta que nos va a permitir el tema de traducción simultánea. Ya está compartida por medio del chat, es una herramienta de Microsoft. Entonces, les agradezco, por favor, puedan ingresar pues para las personas que no manejan este idioma o este segundo idioma. Cuando ingresen les va a pedir un código. Ese código también se les colocó dentro del chat, que es JQILP. Lo pegan dentro del espacio que aparece ingresar código. Luego colocan su nombre y luego su idioma, que en este caso pues la idea sería que para las personas que hablan español pues colocan español y automáticamente la plataforma les va a solicitar una habilitación de micrófono, lo habilita y ya van a poder ver de manera simultánea a la explicación de Ron, digamos que la traducción de lo que él va diciendo. Entonces, un gusto estar con ustedes, un gusto que nos acompañen. Y pues en este caso, sí le vamos a dar, digamos que el espacio a Ron para que pueda comenzar. Último tip, y es que las personas que por X o Y motivo lleguen a tener alguna pregunta o duda respecto a la temática, la pueden hacer sin ningún inconveniente en español o inglés. Y asimismo, Ron va a tener la posibilidad de contestarlo porque él también nos está siguiendo por la herramienta. ¿Listo? Entonces, no siendo más, nuevamente un gusto y Ron, este espacio es todo tuyo. Mil gracias.
Muchas gracias, Jorge. Entonces, antes de empezar, solamente quería compartir unas palabras. Me llamo Kevin Huggins. Yo soy el rector de Harrisburg University en Latinoamérica. Estamos basados en Panamá y estamos enfocados, esta universidad está enfocado 100% en las áreas de STEM. Ciberseguridad es uno de nuestros programas muy fuerte, pero también tenemos analíticas, gestión de proyectos, entre otros. Y ya estamos ofreciendo maestrías en esa área y también con diplomados y cursos cortos y bootcamps, todo eso. Tanto para estudiantes normal para su maestría, pero también para industria, para apoyar en cursos más cortos. Y me encantaría presentar a Ron. Yo le he conocido varios años. Solo que quiero hacer, Ron, if you could advance your slide, one slide, please. Con Ron, él tiene un amplio, mucha experiencia en la área de ciberseguridad, pero una cosa que siempre me gusta compartir con todos cuando tengo el honor de presentarle es que él tiene una ventaja, enfoque muy interesante. Normalmente, como ciberseguridad es muy diverso, hay gente que tiene especialidad en software o en varias cosas, parte de software o parte de hardware. Es muy diverso. Ron, con sus más que 3 décadas de experiencia en ciberseguridad, puede manejar todo de software hasta hardware y por eso está en alta demanda de muchos sectores de industria para asesoría y nosotros sentimos muy afortunados de tenerlo como colega, como profesor. Sigue con su asesoría, pero está ahora enfocando en un área muy importante, entrenando a la próxima generación de expertas y profesionales en ciberseguridad. Entonces, con esto yo voy a dejar que mi colega, el profesor Ron ah, ah, Jones, empiece su presentación. Muchas gracias. Y Ron, the stage is yours. You're on mute, Ron.
You are in mute.
Okay, I got it now. Too many preparations. First of all, I'd like to thank everybody that's attending today at Harrisburg University and MarketWatch for this opportunity to provide a different perspective on cybersecurity. One of the key areas I focused in my career is communicating security, especially in the area of computers, to leadership management so that effective solutions and policies can be implemented to protect their environment. The presentation today will cover a little bit of background information to show you how cybersecurity and is evolved, and then go into what we call the kill chain. And the kill chain is the process of that the bad actors use to do their bad things. And then from that, you'll understand how the kill chain works as a communication tool. First of all, I need to turn off my camera to save on the bandwidth on my side here. So if you'll excuse me, and I'll just turn that off right quick. Okay. First of all, there are a set of tenets that I advocate, which is that I share with my students. And the first one is that the misconception about cybersecurity and cyber defense. And I'll get to, and that is the objective of cybersecurity is to impede the attacker long enough so that a human response can be initiated. There's been this mass misconception that cybersecurity is to stop or prevent cyber attacks, which basically you cannot. You cannot stop 100% of the cyber attacks. The reason being is that cybersecurity is expensive. If you've gone through and bought cybersecurity tools, hired people, whatever, you'll find out it's a vast sink for spending money. The best you can do is to reduce the number of attacks by making it more expensive or more difficult for the attacker. And what this means is that you'll try to counter what the attackers or bad actors are doing, but if they have more money, more time, more resources than you, they are going to hack your environment. There's very little you can do about it, so you might as well just accept the fact. The other one is that the layered defense is always the most effective approach, with the last layer being your business continuity plans. If you don't know what that is, or your disaster recovery plans, I highly recommend you back up, because those are two critical things. Effectively, what it means is that if someone attacks you, does damage, can you recover and continue on with the operations of your organization or business? If you can't do that in a manner which is aligned with the business objectives, then effectively you're going to go out of business, or you're going to lose so many customers that you eventually just kind of wither on the vine. The other thing is that cybersecurity solutions must be driven by business risk requirements. I've seen many times where management has defaulted to the IT or the technologist and say, what should I do? And without considering what is their business risk requirements, and then going from that standpoint. And they come back and they'll offer solutions or address things that either impede, make it difficult, cost too much, and people end up finding ways to circumvent what has been established. They must be driven by business risk requirement. Another key one is only deploy technology the business can internally sustain or afford, and then focus on your business continuity and disaster recovery plan. I know many times people talk about cybersecurity not having an ROI, but in fact it does. And this is where it manifests itself in business continuity plans and disaster recovery plans. And the most significant challenge facing corporations, organizations, whoever, is the lack of cybersecurity professionals. I was at a U.S. intelligence conference on cybersecurity, and the one presenter said that they did a study and they looked at a lot of companies, intelligence agencies inside the U.S., what have you. And what they discovered, it takes one bad actor to initiate an attack on a company. But inside that company, it could take anywhere from 5, 10 to 20 people to respond to that attack. And I know at Harrisburg University, we monitor attacks. We get on the average of 5,000 to 6,000 attacks a day. So if you multiply that times 10,000 or 5,000, we need 50,000 people just to respond to all the attacks we get. Luckily, most of them are not successful because we do other things to make it very difficult for the attackers. But you can see that what's happening is that as the world becomes more and more involved with computers and the Internet of Things becomes more prevalent, you're going to need more people to respond to computer attacks, and there just literally won't be enough people in the world. So where does cybersecurity fit in all of the technology domains and risk management domains out there? And you can see that cybersecurity kind of fits in the middle here, and it's part of information security. I'll get to what information security is just a minute, because a lot of people tend to associate cybersecurity with information security. They're actually two different things. They do have commonalities, you can see with the shared areas, but information security, cybersecurity, business continuity is all a component of risk management. That's what I'm saying. You need to understand your risk tolerance. And then down at the bottom, you have your information security. So this area is where cybersecurity focuses in terms of from a business perspective. This is important because when you talk to technologists or you talk to business, you need to understand where it all lies because they are not separate domains. They do share common areas. What is cybersecurity? This is a model that I created a while back to help people understand the cybersecurity domains. There are two fundamental domains. There's a cybersecurity defense, and there's the offensive cybersecurity. We are more keenly aware, and you hear in the news about the offensive cybersecurity. This is where you get your hackers, your ransomware, your what have you, and that attack people. There are criminal elements, and they tend to use more ransomware and other sophisticated tools We have espionage. Believe it or not, you do not hear it about much, but it's huge, and I've dealt with it several times in my career. Corporate cybersecurity espionage is big. Companies want to steal information, intellectual property from other companies to find out what their competitors are doing in order for them to develop some sort of competitive edge over those the other companies in that respect. This is a huge area. And then we have the advanced persistent threats. Those are typically organizations, nation states that have what we call unlimited resources, unlimited time, unlimited people. The reason the people are unlimited because they can pay a lot better than most companies can. And the other one is the corporate and government. These are people who tend to use espionage to monitor or activities. They tend to be in the background. We rarely ever hear about them. Then, of course, there's the other one that's quite common. We may hear from time to time, and that's the cyber warfare, the military part of it. Most people don't realize that the Earth, the world, has been in a cyber war going on 20 years right now. And what most people don't understand is that in the cyber war, there are no national boundaries. There are no languages. There are no oaths, commitment, whatever. It's basically a free for all. Everybody is fighting everybody, and they're trying to steal information to deny the other organization effective operational functions to inhibit them. And I have been involved in this warfare for about, I guess, going on about 13 years now. My first encounter was I was working in a biopharmaceutical company that one of their mainstays for revenue was they developed the antidote to inhalation anthrax for the Department of Army. Well, long story short, they found out that the People's Republic of China had developed a strain of military-grade anthrax that made the antidote that this company was producing ineffective. So they brought us in to figure out how they discovered that. Well, there was nationals that were working for the company that had set up inside operations and stole the intellectual property for manufacturing the inhalation anthrax, and they exfiltrated it out to the PRC in that respect. Consequently, the company got into dire financial straits, and they were eventually sold. So it's a very serious situation in the world out there. But the key thing to remember is that the people on the organizations, people on the offensive cybersecurity, are the ones who are attacking the defensive cybersecurity. And in the defensive cybersecurity, there are two subdomains. There is what we call the information assurance, and there is the information security. The information security deals primarily with technology. That's its focus. It's the firewalls. It's the actual technical implementations of intrusion detection systems, the maintaining the operational part of it, the technology part of it. The other side is the information assurance. This is what we call the business side of cybersecurity. Now, you need to understand that information assurance is the degree of competence that a company has with its cybersecurity measures and its ability to protect and defend the information systems. And this is critical because if you can't defend and ensure that you have some level of protection, consequently, you're going to be compromised, you're going to go out of business. The other key point of information assurance is to focus on the restoration of systems and how you can continue the viable presence of the organization or company. The information assurance is what drives the solutions over in the information security. Information security is not a independent area where they just go out and select solutions to do stuff. The information assurance, based on the business requirements, and you can read through all those right here. I'm not going to read through all of them, but through these functions here that you do in information assurance side, it tells the information security or the technologists on that side what they need to deploy, how they need to deploy it, how much money they can spend, and how to determine the effectiveness. And from this, the technologists can say, we can do X, but you need X plus Y. So the deficit is going to be addressed in your business continuity plans and other areas because you cannot protect against all attacks and be 100% effective. This helps the management team understand that and make the appropriate decisions. Because the ultimate goal of information assurance is to ensure the survivability of the company or the organization or government, whoever is addressing it. What are the effective communication tools for the cybersecurity people in my particular area, especially when I'm in information assurance working with companies, is you need a tool to communicate with them as to how the cybersecurity world, the cybersecurity offense people behave and act so that they can look at it and ask questions and make determinations on what needs to be done to protect their particular environment. One of the main models I use is what we call the kill chain model. And this effectively defines all of the steps and actions for a compromise. First one is reconnaissance. Reconnaissance is where you basically come through and the bad actors analyze your environment. There's a lot of different ways they can do it. They can do it through social engineering, and they can do it through
con muchos de los empresarios y con abogados que representan a esos empresarios, dando alternativas de solución a esta problemática.
I'm sorry, I didn't get that.
You go ahead, Ron.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
So reconnaissance, they call it intelligence gathering. They do it through scans, through social engineering, there's a lot of information on the internet about everybody and everything, and they study all this and they determine what it is they want to steal or do to your particular company. Then they figure out what is the appropriate payload or malicious activity they can do to attack you. And this is exploits and vulnerabilities because, believe it or not, software is not your enemy, but software is not your friend either. And therefore, you have all these vulnerabilities out there in your systems. They put it into some sort of payload. They can put it into a website. They can put it into an email, whatever. They figure out what's the most effective way to deliver this malicious activity or software into your environment. The software or the payload is executed. It exploits it. It installs additional backdoors. It sets up credentials. It gets really quite intense. And then what we have next is a command and control area where the bad actors or the hackers can sit and do the malicious activities inside your network at their will. Sometimes this command and control can be years. I've seen it in the federal government. Interesting story one time. There was, I guess about 12 years ago, there was a shutdown in the the U.S. Government, and I was working over on the civilian side of the government. So when we went to shut down, everybody expected all of the network traffic to basically go to zero because there was nobody there using the networks, the computers, sending emails, what have you. And we had our team set up to monitor the activities. We were going to do some other stuff to do some tests. And when the day of the shutdown occurred, we were sitting there with our security operations center and our monitoring equipment, and we expected all this activity, which was running somewhere around 98, 99% inside the government network, to just drop almost to zero. Well, the next day it didn't. It only dropped down to 60%. This caused a panic. Long story short, after about 10 hours of analysis, people doing captures on the network, what have you, they found out that 60% of all the traffic in this one particular area of the government network was all hackers. It was countries, other countries, their military organizations, their intelligence organizations had hacked into this one particular area, and 60% of all the network traffic was not associated with the US government. Long story short, they ended up prosecuting about 3 people, and they had a extensive analysis of all the traffic inside the U.S. federal government to determine who was actually legit on their network. That was probably one of the most exciting times of my life because people didn't know what to think because it was supposed to go to 0 and only went to 60. Okay. So the kill chain. The kill chain is reconnaissance, weaponization, delivery, exploit, install, command, and control. And these actions, the detection and response, is you as a leader or you as a technologist need to determine where's the most effective area that you focus your money and resources on, and how do you deploy it, analyze it, and set it up. Because remember, I said before, what happens is that it's very expensive. All of these tools are expensive, and they require people or professionals to operate and run them. So you have to know what you're going after, and this is where the tool of leadership comes in, because they would go, okay, here's our reconnaissance phase of the kill chain. What are we doing as a company to detect any reconnaissance activity that's occurring? How do we know when someone has taken an interest in our particular computer systems, business, whatever? Because one of the other big fallacies that exist in the cybersecurity world is that people, companies, organizations tend to think, well, all I do is I make paper clips. Why would anybody be interested in my company that makes simple paper clips? The reason being is that it's important to understand everything in the cyber world has value. I don't care who you are, what you are, where you are, you have value. And one of the key things is when you start looking at botnets. When you have your kid's computer on the internet, you notice it's running slow, and after some analysis, you discovered it's part of a botnet that's attacking some major company, a government, an agency. It's involved in one of the botnets. Botnets are big business, by the way, on the dark net. You can buy them for various amounts of money in that respect. The other key thing is that another true story. There was a candy company I was working with, a small mom and pop. I would call it small. It was only like $300-400 million a year business that made this specialized candy. They were a public company, but they were a small public company. And I don't know if people get into the NASDAQ, but they had a stock. They paid a little dividend, and they brought us in. They brought the team in and said, "Okay, we want to." They heard all the preaching that has been given before about taking care, about addressing your business continuity plans and disaster recovery plans. But first, you got to understand your environment. And we explained to them that one of the critical things is that your company has tremendous value. And they said, well, we just make this little simple candy. How can that have value to anyone else? And we brought up the point of that if they did a denial of service on your company and someone shorted your stock, even though it's a rock solid stock, it goes up every year, your dividends go up every year, it's a rock solid stock. If someone did a denial of service attack and had shorted your stock and it drops 50, 60, 80 points, they're going to make millions and millions of dollars very easily. So it kind of opened their eyes, and they realized that even being a small company, you can be a major target in the cybersecurity world. So the reconnaissance, they will go out and they will hunt, and you need to detect when someone has developed an interest in your particular area. How do you do that? Well, many of these tools are multi-purpose, but to detect reconnaissance, you want firewalls. Basically, you use not only firewalls on the edge, but you use firewalls internally inside your network. Firewalls, you have your rules set up. You can tell if people are scanning. If someone's hacked into your network and they're doing an internal scan, firewalls are a good way to detect that. You have your intrusion detections and intrusion prevention appliances out there that watch for malicious activity. Also, you can look for malicious activity external outside your company, like on your internet face. And then you had network traffic analysis. There are behavioral. Now we have behavioral and AI network traffic analysis. And what it does, it determines, and this is where this became important back when we were working in the government. You develop a baseline in your company, your network of activity and things that are occurring where people are supposed to be using it. And the network traffic analysis system watches this. If something deviates, it sets an alert. In other words, if someone's automatically starting to scan all the IP addresses in your network, that's not normal. And the NTA will detect that and sends out alerts because someone's starting to do reconnaissance. Your security incident event management systems, they also do network analysis, but it's a lot more sophisticated, has a lot more intelligence built into it, typically AI. And then we have what's called host IDS, host intrusion detection system. You typically deploy these on systems that have high value, like your accounting systems, your logistics systems, what have you. And it watches to see if there's any changes to that system that may not be authorized. Then, of course, we have the user awareness training that is always persistent, basically at every level in here. For weaponization, you want to check your internet filters. A lot of people don't realize that you can buy and deploy and monitor the internet traffic leaving and entering into your network. This is a critical thing. This is one of my biggest issues in dealing with cyber defense. Corporate cultures can be the biggest risk for cyber defense, in the sense that they have the thoughts or feelings that everybody sitting at their desk who has a company computer can go out and scan, or not scan, but go out and visit websites and do any activity, check their email, whatever, from their desk, because of whatever. I don't care. They think it's a right, the privilege, whatever. But that's one of the biggest vulnerabilities. And this is how, by the way, how ransomware tends to get into companies, is through the email. It may come in through the corporate email. Through the reconnaissance, they may perhaps discover that a person is using the person inside the company has a personal email address at Yahoo or Google or whatever, and they'll send them the stuff, and they access that email from inside the company. The ransomware is downloaded, and the penetration has occurred in that respect. I make this recommendation every time, and rarely has any company ever accepted it. You should put an internet filtering system on your company to block sites that are not associated with a person doing their job or related to the company business. This is critical. So I have no idea why corporations tend to do this, organizations tend to do this, but it's very important, because this is one of the number one ways that the reconnaissance, as soon as the reconnaissance finds out that you have this free-for-all internet connectivity, then they find it's a really good way to it. And what they do is they create a weapon that comes in through either another compromised website. It says, hey, for free whatever, for free widgets, click on this website, and it takes them to a compromised website that downloads the software or the ransomware, what have you. Whereas if you had the filter set in place, you would not be allowed to access those unauthorized websites. And this is how they get into the delivery of it, is that they come in and they deliver the payloads through elevated privileges or flaws in the operating systems, what have you. And one of the key things is that in network segmentation, depending upon how that's done, that will stop a lot of the delivery, internal, I should say, should stop a lot of the internal reconnaissance coming in, but you don't notice this reconnaissance until you get to this phase. The exploits, you have people who try to, what's the number one thing? They want to access your databases for reconnaissance. They can do it through SQL injections or whatever to break in, elevate privileges. You can buy web and database firewalls, use internet filtering again, and email filtering. That's cool. But this is the one place what we call the human firewall. This comes from awareness training. You want to train each person to be very suspicious of all network and internet activity, because the human firewall can stop a lot of these exploits. And I can't really get into too much details, but you should check out that concept. And then we have virtual machines where it provides you a very good environment, provided that you don't give the host systems for the VMs access to the internet. I was reading about a company that was using this approach using the VMs, but the people who are supporting the servers on the VMs use the server to go out and scan to go out and do internet activity on the internet, and they got compromised. And long story short, all the VMs got encrypted, and ransomware attack occurred, what have you. Change control, install. If you are not in charge of your network, your applications, your activity, your firewalls, whatever, I can guarantee the bad actors are. Change control is a process. Once again, it's often resisted because it induces delay. It induces a control where IT folks, what have you, don't feel that they can be responsive. One of the key things I teach my students is that you have to understand the primary goal of the IT organization is to address the business processing needs, to be responsive, and to deliver that service as quickly and cost effectively as possible. That is counter to cybersecurity. Cybersecurity is they want total control over what's going on, so they know exactly what every element in your information environment is doing and is supposed to be doing, and they can prove it. So this brings IT and the cybersecurity into conflict with each other. The command and control, the big area here is the HTTPS. A lot of companies do not proxy their HTTPS, and this is how you establish command and control, because it basically makes the firewalls and other control systems in your company ineffective and useless. You should always proxy your HTTPS going out to the network. And then we have your actions. If they're able to get all the way through command and control and start to exfiltrate or do actions for your against your company or your team organization, you need a DLP, which is a data loss prevention system. They're fantastic, but they have a dark side to them. You use certifications, blockchains, what have you, depending on your level of sophistications. And this is where your business continuity and DR teams come into play. If you've gotten to this point, then you're pretty much just toast in this respect. You're already through here. So, proactive actions. You can see that we can use the security incident event management systems to cover these first three areas. Honeypots, if you don't know what a honeypot is, it's really interesting reading. There are free honeypots out there. Once again, they require people with the appropriate cybersecurity training out there. We let some of our students build honeypots on our project systems that we have to gain experience on it. And you need to detect the attackers. The cybersecurity governance framework is what produces your cybersecurity plan. This addresses all the way up through recon to installation. And this will help manage because how the behavior works, because this is the information assurance part that tells the IT, the information security side, what they need to do, how they need to do it, and what the results should be, and how you're going to assess it to prove that they really are. One of the huge problems I had, I don't care if it was government or commercial or whoever, is that I've seen companies put together their cybersecurity framework, which could be an ISO 27001, NIST 853 cybersecurity framework. There's a lot of them, PSSI, the payment card industry, what have you. They go through, they put together these frameworks, build a cybersecurity plan, and they hand it over to the IT, and then they ask them, are you really doing this? And they all shake their head, yes, we are. And then here we come in with all the assessors right behind them. We said, okay, now you've got to prove to us that you're really doing this. It's amazing. 95% of the time, they're lying to us. They'll say they're doing it when in fact they're not. Why? Because it impedes their ability to be quick and cost effective. It's a lot of work. It requires additional skills, and it's just something they don't understand. To them, it's a useless activity because it doesn't help them with their job, but it does help protect the company. So the first 5 of these is the cybersecurity plan, and then if you get into the last stand, if all of this has failed up to this point, the last stand is you can put in network ACLs as access control lists, and you can monitor network activity and set up specialized rules. And also you can do various things, but the last stand is where you have detected that some bad actors have come in and they've done it everything up to the exploit and install, and you're trying to counter them. This is your last stand. This is where you initiate the human response. The sooner you can initiate this human response in this kill chain, you can see that the less damage is going to do and disrupt your organization. But historically, this is usually where it occurs, when they start exercising command and control over your network. In other words, you've lost your access to your servers, your routers, your switches, your firewalls, your database is gone. They've changed all the passwords. It's all over but the crying. If they actually get to the point of where they do the exfiltration or they're successful in the command and control, your only action to plan is to update your resume and find a new job. Takeaways. Know your strengths of witnesses. Okay, how many times have you not heard that? On the kill chain. Like I said, this is a communication tool between the cybersecurity and technologists and management. So it helps management understand where they need to decide how to spend their money, where to spend their money, and understand if you spend it in one spot, these are the consequences later on.
Hey, Ron, interrupt. Could you make sure your mic is on with the system? It seems like it might not be translating on the app.
Oh, it's not translating? It's translating on my side, Kevin.
Yeah, now it is again.
Oh, I bet you I knew what that was. I have it in the background, and I bet you it timed out. Let me see if I can do this.
It's translating now. You can go for it.
Okay. Sorry, did they miss a lot?
Oh, just move forward. No worries.
Yeah, hold on. Okay. Footnote on that. So know your strength and weaknesses on the kill chain. Sit down with your management, your risk team, whoever, to understand it. And remember that your business continuity plan and your disaster plan is your last line of defense. If you cannot recover the company or reconstitute the operations of the organization or whatever, you're basically dead in the water. There's nothing you could do. If you know how they attacked you, where they attacked you, what have you. If you don't have that the BCP and the DRP in place, that is your last line. And you do have to focus on. That's the reason I said early on, this is where your ROI, return on investment, comes into play, is building that business continuity plan. So the BCP and the DRP warrant strong investments. Use a kill chain model as a talking point for discussions with IT and cybersecurity staff. Once again, why? Because you can help them understand why you need to do certain things and spend money in particular areas, because you can't afford, most companies can't afford to put solutions in for every step of the kill chain, but you can understand where you do have that and what you need to do in order to address those deficiencies. Where possible, build cyber defense into every business process and practice. This is one of the major areas of success that I've seen, is when you take the cybersecurity and your governance profile, security plans, and build that into your business process and practice, where people are forced to do certain steps to protect that particular system, activity, or application, or end user. They have greatly increased their ability to reduce the effectiveness of the kill chain. I also note that the kill chain model does not work for insider threats. And the reason being is that you need to use a trust model. If someone is inside your organization, you automatically trust them. If they abuse that trust, that's a different world. That's a different lecture, different session that I teach in my class, is building that trust model so that you can address the insider threats. All right, any questions? No? Anybody have any questions? Kevin, are you there?
I'm right here.
Okay.
Si hay preguntas, puede hacerlo y podemos traducir o puede escribirlo y Ron también puede leerlo también, como gusta.
Okay.
A todos las personas que están acá, digamos que por el momento es un pequeño preámbulo sobre el tema de ciberseguridad de aplicación empresarial. Entonces, si llegan a tener alguna duda, pues con el mayor de los gustos, Ron, digamos que la resolverá, la pueden hacer en español sin ningún problema y la herramienta a él le ayudará, digamos que a traducirla y así, digamos que así mismo brindar la respuesta correspondiente. Entonces, los invitamos si llegan a tener alguna pregunta.
Kevin, it's not, he wasn't on the translation, so translate that for me.
Oh, he was
just repeating what I said. There's no worries.
On questions.
Oh.
So, I think I have one, Ron. So have it in Spanish first. Yo la pregunta que me gustaría hacer es sobre la formación de nuevos analistas en ciberseguridad, particularmente como las habilidades blandas que son importantes, o no sé si habilidades blandas es la palabra, pero habilidades que no son técnicas, sino como analíticas, críticas. So lo voy a hacer pregunta en inglés. Ron, my question is about in the program as you teach new analysts. What are what do you think that are beyond the technical skills, beyond knowing software? What are the skills that you think are more important for a new cybersecurity analyst?
Basically, it's the information assurance side. It's where knowing the which cybersecurity governance fits the industry you're working in, how to apply that, and how to communicate it to the leadership or executive suite or whoever you report to, so that they understand what it is they need to do and where they need to spend their money. I hate to say it, but a lot of young people focus on the technology, but that's not where the true need is right now. The true need is, do you understand how to develop the governance and then communicate it to the leadership so they know where to spend the money and prioritize the risk?
Great. Thank you, Ron. That is exactly what I feel from data science and data analytics. Like data awareness and knowledge about your objective, your purpose, and the environment that you move in. It's way more important. And en español lo que acabo de decir es que me parece, bueno, yo enseño data science, ciencia de datos, y esa es una parte que yo también enseño a mis alumnos sobre, no se trata de focalizarse tanto en la técnica, en el machine learning o en sino también tener mucha perspectiva sobre en qué sistema están, en qué mercado o que los stakeholders y los objetivos que se quieren por sobre el aspecto técnico. Thank you so much, Ron. We have a question.
Can I add one more part to that, please?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. What most of the people coming into cybersecurity today realize, if you focus on the technology, over the next 10, 15 years, artificial intelligence is going to take the place of a lot of cybersecurity people who work directly with the technology. The reason being is that, just a quick example, when someone does an attack in a fixed exfiltration, and if it's a major, or I should say sophisticated one, it can last anywhere from a half second to 30 milliseconds before they complete their exfiltration and you know about it. AI can detect that and respond much quicker than humans. As I mentioned before, the objective is to get the humans to react. Well, the problem with the faster computers, faster networks, all of that occurs at a high rate. So many of the future cybersecurity technologies, firewalls, what have you, are going to be heavily using artificial intelligence to increase the rate, at the speed in which they can respond to cyber attacks.
Thank you. And I have, I'll read some questions from the chat. We have a question from Carlos saying, in your experience, how easy or complicated is to implement a response to this kill chain?
Well, you have to pick which area of the kill chain you want to respond to. It's this way. It's that. Let me bring this back up. There we go. It may take a couple of weeks or days for you to sit down and analyze, how you want to respond to reconnaissance activity. How do you want to respond to the various weapons that they can throw at you, the email, the PDFs that have embedded malicious code in them or whatever, and how you want to respond. So unfortunately, you're going to spend some time analyzing it, looking at what could potentially be your worst case. I can't get too much into it because it gets really involved, and how much money you want to spend on it. So it's not something you can do in a couple of days or even a week. It's going to take you a little bit of time to understand your particular environment and how to defend it.
Perfecto. Muchas gracias. Another question we have. Daniel Cortés is asking, how do you see the participation of artificial intelligence in this process today and in the future? Oh, we had some comments on that.
Extensive. That's one of the areas that I like to focus on at Harrisburg University, is incorporating artificial intelligence into many cybersecurity tools, whether it's intrusion detections, firewalls, data loss prevention systems, security incident and event management systems. AI is going to be the prevalent technology that is going to advance cybersecurity to the point it's going to make it effective against bad actors and against the cyber offensive folks. If you want a career, I highly suggest you go down that path.
Interesting. Oh, that's very interesting. There are, well, we see there, vemos que that there is a mix there with data science and cybersecurity. Interesting. Ya estaba diciendo que vemos ahí un acople, ¿cierto? De ciencias de la computación y data science con ciberseguridad. Voy a continuar con otra pregunta de Víctor Amaris. Question. When a company has a cybersecurity attack and they have taken their emails ransom, and they ask for money. Let me just look. What can you do to, like, what is the usual solution for that type of ransom with emails?
Well, put this back up here. That means that they've already completed the action. They've exercised the command and control. So in ransomware, I'm going to say this, and it's typically been not well received. Ransomware is effective against organizations or IT organizations that have done insufficient cyber planning and in the other areas, and they haven't gone through and look at how do we protect our most vulnerable databases, our access to our manufacturing systems, our vendors, what have you. They haven't gone through and done their due diligence and then due care for that. Unfortunately, ransomware shows that you have a very weak cybersecurity environment. And once it occurs, you only have two options. You either pay it or you start over. There's nothing you can really do to address it after the fact.
Thank you. We have a kind of like, I would say a more technical question. In your experience, which is better in terms of price and features, SonarQube, Q1, or Veracode?
Okay, let me see if I get to understand that.
It's in the chat. You can see it is in English. You have the name.
I'm sorry, I only have one screen, so I have to.
Oh, I can repeat them. It's SonarQube, Q1 with a K and W, and Veracode. Are you familiar with them?
Show conversations. Here we go. Oh, unfortunately, that's all in Spanish for me. No, I'm not.
Okay, okay. We have another question too. Well, if you can. Oh, Víctor, no tuviste Oh no, Víctor no vio la. Bueno, Víctor, rápidamente resumo que tener el ransom de correos es usualmente una señal de malas preparación en seguridad y que una vez que esto ocurre ya básicamente hay dos alternativas, pagar o partir de nuevo. Mercedes pregunta, what courses or programs does Harrisburg University offer in cybersecurity?
Well, there's a couple of different areas. I'll address the graduate level first. At the graduate level, there we have our 661 introductory course that covers all of the kind of a broad sweep of what needs to occur in cybersecurity, the governance, the technologies, the philosophies, the attacks. We get into, we have a very advanced ethical hacking course. We have a very advanced information assurance course that gets into the governance, different types of governance frameworks that are out there. Then we get into the research and working with the students to develop some research thesis in one of the areas of cybersecurity, because like I said, we get into looking at tools, how you deploy it, what are the challenges, the business continuity, DR plans. They're very complex. They can be complex. They don't have to be. But also for those who want to get on the technology side, in the research, they get in once again into the AI, the different tools that are out there. So it really kind of depends, but those are the types of courses we have.
Thank you. Y veo, tenemos algún comentario y una pregunta más. You have a comment here from Daniel Cortez saying that you could say that in the future there will be a struggle in artificial intelligence between kind of like the criminal actors and defense?
Correct. Yeah, and it'll be done. That's a very keen observation, but you're correct. Just because we incorporate artificial intelligence on the defensive side doesn't mean the offensive folks can do it all. Can't do it. They will in fact do it. So you'll have AI bots fighting AI defensive bots fighting AI offensive bots, or in that respect. But it'll be done at such high speeds and high rates that we as humans will just simply be able to monitor that activity that's going on. To give you a firm example, this is kind of a scary one I've given people before. Most people don't realize that there are tools out there right now that you can deploy into smartphones. And if you wanted to, let's just say there's a crowd of people somewhere and you had the sophistication and a little bit of knowledge, you can deploy these tools onto their phones and you could turn on all their cameras and all their microphones and listen to what everybody's saying everywhere and monitor the video activity, watch what's going on. And they would never know it.
Perfect, thanks. Tenemos una última pregunta por Camilo. Adelante.
Gracias, André. Creo que primero en español, luego en inglés. La pregunta es porque pues, en Colombia y América Latina aún existen brechas enormes en tecnologías como inteligencia artificial, que el profesor Jones mencionaba, y otros campos. Entonces quisiera conocer la recomendación de cuál es la prioridad que deberíamos abordar en estos países para cortar estas brechas y mejorar los sistemas de ciberseguridad. In English, Professor Jones, thank you for the information. Well, in Colombia and Latin America, we still have huge gaps in technologies such as artificial intelligence, you just mentioned, and some other technologies. So what is the priority that you would recommend us to address in order to cut some of these gaps and improve our cybersecurity systems? Thank you.
Okay. Well, first of all, yeah, we have tools at Harrisburg University that can help with some of those gaps. I'm going to put a plug in there for our HPC, which is a student learning environment that allows you to do simulation. But we also support artificial intelligence, and it's called GNS3. I don't know if anybody's ever heard that before. It's a network simulation tool that we also use in the graduate level to build simulated networks and computer environments, and then do various activities with them. But in terms of where you should really start in the governance side. The governance part of it, you need to decide which governance framework applies to your particular area. And the reason I say that is that there must be 30 or 40 different frameworks depending upon the industry, whether you're in manufacturing, you're in government, you're in finance, you're in the electricity or production, distribution, gas, shipping, railroads, pipelines, whatever. Each one has its own frameworks and policies that can be used to help guide and direct the leadership to help them understand where they need to build their or install their technology solutions and tools to be most effective, given the limitations of their company budget, technology, with their human resources in terms of people that they have trained or understand the cybersecurity world. Maximizing, put it succinctly, maximizing what you have at hand is the first step, and along with establishing a governance framework.
And if I can just add to what Ron mentioned, is that for Latin America, Harrisburg University also offers masters in the cybersecurity and various short courses, diplomados, that are available to help in the short term, especially for industry, our industry segment.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Muchas gracias.
A todos de antemano, pues agradecerles digamos que este espacio ha sido muy rico en temas de conocimiento. Entonces, de una u otra manera, quisiéramos, digamos que lograr de una u otra forma aportarles, digamos que por un lado, a fortalecer esos conocimientos que ustedes tenían, pero también, digamos que a perfilar de mejor manera, digamos que el alcance. Entonces, de antemano, de parte del clúster, de parte de la Universidad de Harrisburg y demás, queremos, digamos que seguirlos invitando a estos ejercicios. La idea es compartirles el material para que, digamos, ustedes puedan, digamos que, si es el caso, compartirlo con otros actores o de una u otra manera, digamos que terminar de depurarlo de mejor manera para todo el ejercicio. Andrés Carbo tiene la manito, entonces hola Andrés y adelante.
Okay, let me introduce myself. My name is Andrés Carbo, Director of the ICT sector on the Software Cluster Initiative here at the Chamber of Commerce of Bogota. Thank you very much for your presence and all the entrepreneurs of the cluster of software and IT, and for having accepted the invitation. And thanks of all Harrisburg, especially to his rector, Kevin and Andre, and Aaron. Thank you very much for your company today. It was a very interesting conference. We will continue this alliance with the Harrisburg to deal with different issues such as intelligence, artificial, big data, smart cities, 5G, etc. Quiero pues agradecerles muy especialmente a todos los asistentes aquí de la empresarios del clúster de software y TI por haber aceptado esta invitación. Creo que fue una conversación bastante interesante acerca de la ciberseguridad. Agradecer especialmente a Ron por esta conferencia y al rector de Harrisburg, con quienes hemos hecho pues una alianza bastante interesante. Esta ya viene siendo como nuestra tercera charla. Y esperamos pues seguir haciendo pues muchas alianzas sobre diferentes temas con ellos. Así que pues mil gracias de nuevo por habernos acompañado a todos acá y a todos los empresarios que del clúster aceptaron la invitación.
Muchísimas gracias por la invitación. Es siempre un placer de trabajar con ustedes y estar aquí con los afiliados y las empresas importantes de Colombia.
Muchas gracias, Kevin. No sé,
Y yo creo que esto es todo lo que tenemos y si no hay más, agradecemos mucho por la invitación y gracias por todo.
de golpe decirles que les estaremos mandando a apreciado Daniel Fernando, empresario del clúster de Ethos Soluciones de Software, les estaremos mandando la presentación y las memorias del día de hoy.
Sí, exacto.
Muchas gracias. Thank you so much.
Perfecto.
Thank you very much.
Muchas gracias. Que pasen buen día.
Muchas gracias. Thank you very
Buen
much.
día.
Gracias.
Buen día para todos.